Hey everyone, welcome to Recap Blitz. Today I'm going to tell you the story of Final Destination. This is a new American supernatural horror film, the sixth in the Final Destination series, and it has become the best reviewed movie in the franchise so far. You don't need to watch any of the previous films to understand this one because it explains everything you need to know about the premonitions, about why these visions happen, and why death seems to be chasing people in a curse that crossed through an entire family line. Everything ties into what happened 5 movies ago, and in this one you finally learn the reason behind it all. It was a warm evening in 1968. The sun had just gone down. The city lights blinked on like stars. Paul held Eris's hand tightly. He smiled as they walked up to a tall glass building. This was the Sky Tower restaurant. He had planned a special surprise for her. Paul opened the heavy glass door. Inside was a shining floor made of glass. Under their feet, they could see the street 2 stories below. A live kitchen stood in the center. Chefs cooked food over open flames. Steam rose latched Paul's finger. He yelped and pulled back his hand. A small drop of blood appeared on his skin. Eris saw the blood. She felt a wave of sickness. She bent over and vomited quietly. The music seemed to stop. People turned to watch. The singer on the stage saw Eris. "Are you okay?" the singer asked softly. Eris shook her head, looking pale. Then she paused. She felt something inside her change. Her hand moved to her stomach. "Am I pregnant?" she thought. A sudden smile spread across her face. Paul knelt beside her. "Eris?" he asked, concern in his voice. Eris nodded. "I think I am pregnant," she said softly. Paul's eyes filled with joy. He stood and hugged her. William, the little boy, was climbing up to the terrace railing. He had the coin. He flung it over the edge. The coin flipped and spun, but it did not hit the floor. Instead, it slid into a hidden air duct under the glass. Inside the restaurant, everyone started to clap for the singer's next song. People shouted and ran. A large section of the glass floor cracked in two. A wave of panic swept the crowd. Paul held onto a small piece of glass. He tried to climb up. Eris reached out. He slipped and fell. His scream echoed as his body crashed through the broken glass down to the pavement. The live kitchen flames danced around the broken floor. Heat made the remaining floor crack again. Eris backed away, coughing smoke. She saw the singer's body burst into flames near the ovens. And inside, the doors shut behind her. Inside the small elevator car were 20 people. It rocked as it started to descend, but the car already sat at an odd tilt. The cables had snapped. The car crashed through the lower floor with a deafening sound. Eris screamed as the car shook and groaned. Then it stopped with a jolt. Silence fell. Eris staggered out of the wrecked elevator shaft. She climbed back up onto the broken floor. Half of the restaurant leaned at a 45-degree angle. People on that side hung by their hands from the railings. Shouts for help rang out. The lid rocked under the coin's weight. In a second, Eris ran to the edge of the now half-empty floor. She saw William, the little boy, huddled on a broken beam, crying, with sweat and blood. Her grip failed. With a sickening crack, both chains snapped free. Eris clasped William tightly. They fell together through the darkness. They hit the ground hard and did not move again. A high scream pierced the air. Stephanie sat upright in her classroom. She was breathing hard. She looked around at her classmates. Professor Singh stood at the chalkboard, chalk in hand. "Miss Kapoor, are you all right?" he asked kindly. Stephanie shook her head. She pressed her palms to her temples. She thought of Eris and Paul and the falling glass. That night, Stephanie lay in bed. Her roommate, Maya, noticed the tears. "Stephanie, talk to someone you trust," she said softly. "Maybe your family?" The following morning, Stephanie visited her father's house. Her younger brother, Charlie, ran to hug her. "Steph, I missed you," he cried. Soon, they drove to their Uncle Raj's home. Uncle Raj was Stephanie's mother's brother. On the front lawn, her cousins Eric and Lila played with their dog. Stephanie greeted them all warmly, but her heart felt heavy. At lunch, Stephanie asked, "Uncle Raj, can you tell me about my grandmother Eris?" Her uncle's face darkened. He set down his glass of water. "Your grandmother?" he said bitterly. "She is dead for us. She lost her mind and ran away to an island. She never came back. Because of her, your mother, she also suffered and finally left us." Stephanie stared at him. Her aunt in the kitchen slipped a plate of cookies to Stephanie. Then she slipped her a small envelope in secret. Stephanie opened it later and found an old photograph of Paul and Eris at Sky Tower and a letter with an island address. Stephanie's heart pounded. The photo was the same one she saw in her dreams. This could explain everything. A week later, Stephanie and Charlie took a ferry to a small island off the coast. An old wooden sign read, "Welcome to Serenity Island." They walked up a rocky path to a lone cabin under fir trees. The door creaked as Stephanie knocked. Inside, an elderly woman with silver hair stood, eyes bright. "Are you Stephanie Carter?" she asked gently. Stephanie nodded. "Yes, I'm your granddaughter." The woman's eyes filled with tears. "Come in, child." Inside, the cabin was full of books and papers. Maps covered the walls. A small stove crackled fire. The air smelled of wood smoke and old paper. They sat at a rough-hewn table. Stephanie showed the letter and the photo. "I've had visions of that day," she said softly. "I saw you and Paul on the glass floor." The grandmother, Eris, nodded. "I saw it too," she said. "That night, I warned people through the microphone. I took the coin from William's hand and told them to leave. Many escaped, but those who stayed, death came for them, one by one." Stephanie's eyes widened. "Death came?" Eris reached into a dusty shelf and pulled out a leather-bound book. She placed it in Stephanie's hands. "This book lists the names of survivors and the way death found them later. It shows how to protect yourself." She opened the book at the back and showed a small pocket. Inside lay the brass coin. Stephanie gasped. "The coin from my vision." Eris nodded gravely. "Keep it safe. Death will come for you now." Stephanie and Charlie returned home with the book and the coin. Stephanie tried calling her mother and extended family. The phone rang and rang. No one answered. They were at a large family party. That evening, strange things began to happen at Uncle Raj's house. A glass on the dining table shattered on its own. A sharp piece fell into an ice bucket. When Uncle Raj scooped ice, the shard landed in his drink. He set the glass aside without noticing. Other furniture began to move slightly. Chairs slid a few inches. Pictures tilted on the wall. The air felt heavy. Uncle Raj reached for his drink and knocked over the glass. The shard cut his hand. He winced, cursed, and then stumbled. His foot kicked a small metal tool that rolled under a lawnmower parked in the garage bay. The mower's engine revved and the blades began to spin. The machine lurched forward, burst through the garage doors, and struck Uncle Raj in the face. He fell to the ground, the mower dragging away. Lila screamed and fainted. Stephanie rushed inside. She held her uncle's head until paramedics came. But she knew this was no accident. Death was hunting them. A few days later, Stephanie went to Eric's piercing shop. Eric was her cousin. His shop was small and neat. Rows of earring studs and nose rings shone under bright light. Eric wore a silver ring in his nose. Stephanie found him cleaning a counter. "Eric," she said, "we need your help." She showed him the book. As they spoke, a fan overhead started spinning fast. A magnetic chain hanging from the ceiling swung and snagged Eric's nose ring. The chain yanked his head up. Sparks flew from a spilled kerosene lamp. Flames leapt. Eric yanked free and stumbled back into a chair. He caught fire briefly, but the flames died as he doused them with water. He shook himself, unhurt, and gave Stephanie a wry smile. "See," he said, "I'm Phoenix." Stephanie frowned. That was too close. Then a speeding truck barreled past the open shop door. It hit Eric so hard he flew sideways. But he landed softly on grass and slid to a standstill. Not a scratch. He looked at Stephanie and laughed. "It's like I'm protected," he said. Stephanie's stomach turned. Death is playing with you. Later, Lila went for a walk near a garbage bin. A stray ball rolled at her feet. She fell into the bin. At the same moment, the garbage truck driver finished loading. He closed the bin's metal lid and activated the compactor. The bin's sides crushed inward. Seconds later, the lid opened. Only Lila's small hand lay on the curb. Stephanie found her and screamed. She tried to pull her cousin free, but it was too late. Lila was gone. The family gathered in shock. Eric's face turned pale. Uncle Raj's widow wept softly. Stephanie held the book and coin in her shaking hands. Aunt Mira whispered, "Eric, you should not have been spared." Stephanie looked at Eric. He nodded. Then Eric's sister revealed the truth. Eric was not their real son. He had been adopted. His sister was the biological child. That was why death took her instead. Stephanie closed her eyes. She had to protect her mother next. Bobby, Eric's younger brother, sat with Stephanie. He was fearful. "I don't want to die," he said. Stephanie hugged him. She told Bobby a plan. "We will feed you a peanut. You are allergic. Death will try to kill you with anaphylaxis. Then we give you epinephrine. You will survive, and death will lose interest. Bobby agreed. They went to a vending machine for a peanut bar. Stephanie pressed the button. The machine hummed, then stuttered. It jammed. In frustration, Bobby yanked the metal ring of the coin return. The ring flew loose. They left the machine and went back to the car. But as they did, Bobby tripped. The loose ring rolled under an MRI scanner in a nearby clinic. Eric, who went back for the injection, knocked against a wall and activated the MRI's powerful magnets. His metal piercings clung to the machine. The magnet yanked at Eric's chest. He screamed, but he was strong. He managed to twist free, dropping the ring. At that moment, Bobby ate the peanut bar. He gasped as his throat closed. Stephanie injected him just in time. He coughed and opened his eyes. Relief washed over them. But then, the vending machine spring, dislodged earlier, shot out and pierced his chest. Bobby fell, blood pooling on the pavement. Death had taken him anyway. Now only Stephanie and Charlie were left. Stephanie knew their mother's name was next in the book. She called her mother and told her to go with Charlie to Eris's old cabin. "Stay there," Stephanie said. "It is safe." They arrived at the cabin as the sun set. The door was unlocked this time. Stephanie left the coin and book on a bench. She heard a hiss. Gas leaked from a broken pipe. Flames engulfed the back wall. With a loud explosion, the cabin shuddered. Charlie grabbed Stephanie and ran outside. The explosion threw them toward a ledge. Stephanie slipped and fell. Charlie dove after her. They landed in a small pond. Water covered their faces. Charlie pulled Stephanie out, gasping. A tall tower of logs beside the cabin swayed and toppled. It fell and crushed their mother beneath. Charlie screamed and held her. Then he looked at Stephanie. "It's you now," he whispered. They ran to the edge of the water. Stephanie lay still. Charlie began CPR. He pressed her chest, breathed into her mouth. After a minute, Stephanie coughed, then took a shaky breath. She was alive. She had cheated death once more. Years passed. Charlie graduated from college. Stephanie and Charlie stood on the porch at his graduation party. Friends laughed and took pictures. Stephanie held a single red rose. She placed it gently in Charlie's jacket pocket. He grinned. "Thanks," he said. He pressed the stem lightly. A thorn pricked his finger. He yelped and pulled back. Stephanie shook her head. "Be careful," she said. They laughed. Music played. Fireworks flashed in the sky. Unknown to them, an old woman on the train platform held the other half of the broken penny. She dropped it, and it rolled onto the tracks. Back at their house, their friend, Dr. Meta, popped in. "You're lucky to be alive," he said. "If someone goes 5 minutes without breathing, they're clinically dead. You had at best 2 minutes." Stephanie and Charlie looked at each other, hearts pounding. Then, in the distance, they heard a train whistle. It grew louder. They ran toward the edge of the street. They were too late. The train thundered by. Pieces of loose wooden tie flew off the wheels. Splinters of wood flew into the air. One splinter struck Stephanie's shoulder. Another stabbed Charlie's leg. They ran, but the train's force threw them to the ground. Charlie reached for Stephanie's hand as darkness closed in. Their eyes met. They gasped once, then lay still. Silence fell over the tracks. And that is the end of our story, friends. A single coin, a small trick, a game with death, and how it reached across decades. What do you think of this story? Please let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel for more true and scary stories. Thank you for watching, and stay safe.